Okay, hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, welcoming you back for a most spooky episode of Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword, which tonight would be HeghDuj. I am your GM in the Great Barrier as always, and we are joined tonight by Captain Tabak, our ship's engineer Rlaldaar, Dr. Cressek, our Gorn physician, and the old one-armed Klingon helm officer Azik. So, with all of that said, uh, for those catching this in the archive, feel free to catch us live at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. We are back on this time and should be for the foreseeable future. But let's just jump in from here. So, I believe that one of our players has a special introduction planned.
When you want a good meal that's no big deal, Gawk Pockets. When a hungry crew shows up for a meal, Gawk Pockets. Gawk Pockets. With our patented Gawk cryo technology, once you heat these little tasty treats, the Gawk really come alive and are as fresh as the Gawk your grandmother served the Empire long ago. So much flavor that doesn't take up a lot of space in your cargo holds are great for captains out on long trips. Gawk Pockets, available at your local star bases near you.
I'm gonna kill you.
You know, I only regretted my life choices for a moment there. Only a
I
moment.
still regret your life choices right now.
Uh, it could be worse. In an alternate universe, we're doing the beach episode right now.
Oh no. Oh no.
Anyway, no, treat it as the trouble with Edward type short, or like at the end of the commercial. Anyway, with all of that, yeah, let's jump in here. So the Anne has been moving along at warp, having left Zethlor some. Uh, at this point, I would think it's been maybe about a week and a half at this point since you've gotten underway. Um, oh no. I had the time frame wrong. It was much sooner than that. You have been out at warp about 5 days at a modest cruising speed, I would say. Um, it's a bit of an acclimation process as the ship has been moving along because of a number of factors. First and foremost, there is obviously the increased number of people in the crew. During your last little stint in port, you had picked up quite a number of new crew, among them a Klingon Hemkush, whose name you have learned as Krokur. You have picked up a Nautican man by the name of Bahan, who, as he is sobering up, it does go a little back and forth, um, but he will alternate between calm and careful work and just intermittent screaming fits. Um, Thus, the need for sedation or booze at different times. Of course, subject to Dr. Cressek's careful decision making. Um, there is, of course, another gentleman who you probably don't know quite enough to identify his species, but you do know him by his name, Zional. Uh, let's go ahead and introduce some of the new cast here. Let me make these people a little more visible. So we have Zional here, um, who is recognized as a ship's well, his duties that he markets himself as would be chiefly the ship's quartermaster. Just getting this folded down a little more neatly. Then there, as mentioned, we had Bahan, the Nautican, who is a fairly competent scientist, particularly with interstellar sciences. that would be this gentleman here. And then, of course, as mentioned, the impeccably like very well maintained gentleman whom has introduced himself as Croker, and who I'm sure Captain Tabak at this point has no desire to spend long moments in a room with.
Tabak will never spend a moment alone with that man. There will always be somebody else in the room.
Yes. To which I'm sure Croker has said many a time, such a gentleman.
Oh, right.
Okay. Croker seems to be very bashful, however, and their character sheet is not showing up in uh, at least in the visual screen that I have set for you. So apologies on that, everyone. In any case, there's a lot of new faces on the crew, certainly in proportion to those that you've had before. There's a lot of new equipment here as well. Quite a bit that you picked up there, particularly set up by Woe and one of the new crew members, Zionel. Woe herself has seemed a little bit more distant and possibly maybe not quite standoffish, but definitely um, not all has been well with her since that encounter, and she's played it pretty close to the chest since then. So
She
there'll
wanted
probably,
to, yeah, she insisted that I call her captain
yeah, something you are still
or
trying to.
defer to her judgment, and I don't like any of that.
Yes, yes. Um, so you've undoubtedly not seen nearly as much of Woe lately. You also probably haven't seen that much of um, you haven't seen that much of Traven outside of mealtime because he's now accounting for many more different palettes than he had previously, and it is being kept pretty busy with the constant cooking. So that is a lot to do, and we'll say that explains their absence tonight. With all that said here, yeah, I guess we would start off with also some of the equipment that you have acquired, and particularly the installation process there, something you have been having to do on the fly on your way to your next job. So for the for
Yeah.
the for this particular work, who would like to be involved in the scene here?
Well, even though I'm now captain, I'm still an engineer at heart, so I think Tabak would sort of insist on being part of the installation process at the absolute least.
Fair enough.
Dababoo.
So I interpret that as in in our proper chief engineer's tongue as an affirmation to be involved. So we have at least Tabak and Rlaldaar there. Anything else?
Can Azik's going to be on the bridge tinkering with the stuff? Can Dekoth be there, and then I'll just run him?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. All right, so let's go.
Figure we have new crew, and Dekoth is nervous about new crew um, around the captain.
I gotcha.
Well, if he's worried about new crew around the captain, then Zional definitely has to be there.
No, 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 no.
That's a perfect justification to have Zional involved as well. So let us go ahead and put you four in the scene. Um, for both Dekoth and Zional, since both are supporting characters, meaning they are sort of a secondary player character for our main PCs, they start off with a lower build to begin with, or with slightly less stats in respective disciplines and attributes. Also without talents, values, or the complete set of focuses. And while they never build completely to that level, you are allowed to add with each activation, which for house rules I treat as once per session, or rather once per adventure. So it can be multiple sessions, but you do have the opportunity to activate your supporting characters once per adventure and gain something new. So Dakoth and Zionel, you both get to add something here. Um, for Dakoth, I need to just refresh myself a little bit. Looks like you can still add a talent, a value, or a focus. I believe you've already put points in attributes and disciplines.
Yeah, I believe so. If I did,
Okay, so
um,
you may decide on any of those.
I think focus. I think I'll add a focus
Yeah.
on something along the lines of uh, protecting those in command, um, like protect the
Bodyguard.
captain.
Yeah.
Protocol 1: protect the pilot. Wait, protect the captain.
So maybe if you wanted to go in terms of a focus, you could add something in terms of security protocols, or um, maybe if you want it to be more capable in terms of like scouting out positions, maybe something about like reconnaissance tactics or whatnot. There is also, I believe,
Recon would be fine.
yeah. In that similar vein, if you wanted to take the talent route, there is also, I believe, constantly watching, um, which is a talent in, I think, both the original core rulebook and the Klingon book. Um, but the basic premise behind it is that you have it's either reduced difficulty or you get a free d20 when you are spotting out dangers or traps there.
Constantly watching sounds perfect for.
Okay,
So I'll take that as a focus.
that's not a bad idea. Zionel, meanwhile, this is the first time we've truly activated your character, I think, so you have a pretty full range of options here. Is there anything that you would like to add, or anything in particular you would like to add to your character?
Um, would I be able to take the empath talent, given my species?
You know, I think that that would be permissible. So I'm I'm going to rule. I will rule on that. That yes, that is indeed a possibility here. We will obviously we'll talk more in terms of working to define more specific bounds, but otherwise just be feel free to ask questions when it comes up, or if you feel that there is a moment to pull some sort of insight of any
Of
sort.
course.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that will set up that scene there. Or rather, that sets up the characters that we will have present for that. I guess. Meanwhile, the rest of this would be. Let's see here. Just looking over the blueprints and remembering where I placed or where I was thinking that it would make the most sense to place this scene. I want to say, I think that for our purposes, I was thinking that there might have been sort of. Well, I know that the main disruptor turrets are up on the gun deck. For the memory serves,
Well, the turrets, yeah, the pod on the back, we have two disruptor turrets that are back there.
yeah, but
And
they're
then
also
right
wing
there on either
mounted.
side of the bridge, we have the really big disruptor cannon. No,
Right,
this
that's
one
where they're.
doesn't have. Yeah, the cannons are on either side of the bridge.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. There, that's what I was thinking. So
Yeah, this one didn't have any wing-mounted weaponry.
that's right. Yes. Okay. In that case, I would think that we would be on the main deck, just near the bridge, kind of in along a bit of alcoving where uh, Rlaldaar, you alongside Zional have been at work on installation for the new replacement parts. Tabak, for your part, you've probably been dropping in periodically because the compartment is right next to the bridge, and undoubtedly, even if they were having to, or even if they could keep it relatively contained for the work, there are a lot of components that are moving back and forth in order to repair the couplings and find suitable elements there. Dekoth, of course, would be very close by, and um, yeah, otherwise, I would say probably on the bridge right now, Azik and Vopri have manned stations. So you have coverage at helm and sensor operations. You know, if something goes on, then one of them will let you know.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, if you look on the map on the sub deck along the neck, there are two dedicated um, EPS conduits, one that come up the neck, each one dedicated directly to each one of those cannons.
oh right, that would actually make more sense. It'd be better off to set the scene in that location then. So let us then introduce. Yeah, I think that rather than going for a theater of the mind here, I think that we could alternatively introduce a new little set that I've been working up. Oh,
Ooh,
no,
new
let's.
sets. Exciting.
I'm actually thinking of saving this for later because it's a better ringer for the main corridor. But I suppose just for now, just to show off a little bit of items that we have, let's go ahead and kick us here for now.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, cool.
Hmm. So
That works.
obviously,
That works. That works for both. That's brilliant. I like it.
yeah, obviously, with the subdeck being that this is more area for disruptor conduits, there are not as many doors in this section of the neck. Um, but this is effectively, I think, a good set to at least give a sense of the rough dimensions. It is a relatively confined space that you are working in. You know, obviously for you, Rlaldaar, the ceilings are somewhat low. You have the perpetual hunch that you and the taller members of the crew have to contend with. Um, and
Yeah, the sub deck isn't even a full 2 meters in height.
yeah, so this is just the indignities do not cease, Rlaldaar.
Yeah.
Nor do they necessarily get easier as you attempt to fit a bit of as you attempt to weld a bit of disruptor coupling into place. That being said, give me just a real quick control and engineering task. I'm gonna call this difficulty 2, and just for the fun of it, I am dropping 1 point of threat to increase the complication range here.
Oh, how rude.
Can I yell at him to help?
Yeah, sure.
No, not like that.
Presence and command.
Oh, cool.
This means if I get a complication, I'm neck chopping you for micromanaging me.
That is an acceptable narrative complication. That being said, let's see what you do. Okay, Rlaldaar, you pull 2 successes there. And Tabak adds in, well, technically Tabak is supposed to be rolling a single d20 because that is an
Oh,
assist.
my
I'll,
bad. I apologize.
I'll let you do that again because technically there is a 0 there, which could also, which is a 19 on the die and would be treated as a complication if we were to accept it. A third success. Yeah, Rlaldaar, you think you find a good bit of coupling and are replacing one of the damaged sections here. Tabok's occasional shouting of orders, while maybe a slight irritation, is at least a little bit constructive.
You've got it backwards. Turn it around.
Do we gain any momentum for that?
You do, and I'm going to ask who would like to be the designated momentum officer tonight.
I say Cressek should do it this time.
I can do that.
You have been voluntold. Congrats.
The captain orders, I obey.
Yeah.
As is a good warrior does.
Yes.
Yep.
Fantastic Englishing.
Ah, yes, the universal language. So yeah, this has been going on for much of the day. I would guess at this point, given what we established with these coils, Zionel, you have been picking out which bits of coil to hand to Rlaldaar at this point, or
Exactly. Yeah, because this was from a D5, which is a significantly larger ship than this vessel. So I'm having to find like the pieces that are either small enough or can be cut down while still maintaining functionality.
Yes.
And giving them to him.
And are also not damaged too significantly.
Not too significantly.
Hey, we can fix it. We got stuff to fix parts.
Yep. But yes.
No, you don't have Cressek's parts anymore. Can't fix it. Can't fix anything.
No, we have Zionel's parts now.
Oh no.
But we have the tools where we can take two broken bits and bash them together to make one working bit.
Precisely. So that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm just trying to help him out by finding the ones that are going to be the easiest to install.
Indeed so. So, as all this goes on, as we cut into this scene, or as your work continues, Rlaldaar, you've replaced at least a portion of a conduit sufficient, you think, to actually at least feed more complete power to the port side cannon now.
Good. We have more power feed. Sufficient for you. Yes.
Why did you suddenly turn Russian?
I have a cold.
Oh, that's correct.
Rlaldaar was always going to be Russian. That was the canon. Or at least that's how a certain Starfleet cadet was always going to say it. Oh yes, there was this Gornov officer who was taken at a young age, but he grew up in Russia.
So
if Star-Lord was Russian instead of from Missouri.
Oh dear.
Oh Lord. That would be hilarious.
As you can see, these disruptor cannons are of a serviceable quality.
If they will shoot and destroy our enemies, that is the best that I could hope for.
That they will. Well, the ship these parts came from was lost in an ambush by Orions, but as long as that does not happen again, I think we should be fine.
Right, yeah, okay. Orions.
Very profitable business partners, but
sometimes.
You have to be careful you don't drive a dagger in your back.
What was that?
You have to be careful they do not drive a dagger in your back.
Or somewhere else more painful. Especially if you deal with the females.
I make it my business not to.
And that is a good business practice.
I must say, this ship is a bit more quaint than I was expecting for someone of the Kazin's reputation.
And I'm still debating whether or not to keep up with the charade at this point.
Well, I think that it Woe only asked you to defer insofar as it was anything around around Hedron or whatnot. But let's play it safe and say that you may have been putting up a bit of an act for Zional because Woe hasn't communicated to you a lot more on this matter.
What is your relationship with Woe?
Oh, whoa, is that her name? Interesting. My, former employer seemed to know her. Said that she was quite the vicious pirate. This ship is a raiding ship, I guess you could say. But not nearly what I expected.
What did you expect?
Something with a bit more teeth, shall we say?
What do you think we're putting in?
Yes, I suppose.
The collection of warheads and for the photon torpedo launchers will also prove exceptionally useful.
Indeed. I did notice there was a short supply of those among other goods that
You would be correct.
hopefully I can address. It seems that I am not entirely, and I kind of look toward Degoth, not entirely welcome here at times, and I aim to justify my place aboard this vessel.
That does improve one's chances of, how shall I say it, retaining employment. As well
Very good.
As well as breathing gases.
I do quite enjoy breathing gases.
As do we all.
Well, if... Oh, wait, go ahead. Sorry.
Dekoth will kind of chime in. You mean to tell me that you've got death sticks on this ship? Referring to whatever the Klingon version of cigarettes are.
Currently, no. But if it's something you're looking for, it's something that I can find.
Breathing gases, you fool. Air.
Okay. Well, it took me a while to get off of those, so it's just an old habit that, yeah. Carry on.
Now, aside from parts for the disruptors, the photon torpedoes, you brought along a whole slew of other weapon systems.
I did, at Woe's insistence. I figured it was not a good idea to disagree with her.
Typically, no.
You can peruse them.
Especially if, as we discussed, you enjoy breathing.
Again, I very much do. You are free to peruse them at your discretion, see if there's anything that piques your interest. I certainly have no further use of them.
Yeah. That and the supply of small arms is most appreciated.
Captain Azik to Commodore...
Excuse me?
Captain Azik to Commodore...
Who?
Tabak.
Who?
Captain, it's Navigator Azik. We have detected an antimatter explosion. Vopri says it's about 500,000 kilometers off our course. No signs of a battle, but we could be there in less than a minute.
And?
Would you like us to go check it out?
Why? We are not explorers. Is it a ship that exploded?
Okay, hold on, give me a moment to verify. You can hear Vopry working off the just off in the distance. Rather, his own quiet voice shrinking to the bridge's intercom as he attempts to conduct a sensor roll.
Nope.
That's what we like to see, Volfrak.
Yep, a single success and a complication.
Well, Bright, you're usually much better than that.
I am sorry. But I wait. I can be assisted by the ship. That still helps. Ship, don't let me down now. Don't let me down.
It let you down.
It let me down. I can't say too much. But I do believe I am. Well, that a strange.
Spit it out, man.
I am detecting sign. I am not detecting any active power signatures in the immediate region, but I do detect metallic masses. There could have been a. There doesn't seem to be signs of an attack, but it could be maybe cargo accident. That'd be most likely explanation, I suppose. I suppose.
Zion all perks up at that.
I suppose yes. That would. I think this makes the most sense as far as that goes. So that Captain, I will simply send a log to whatever local imperial authority, and they can tend to the shipping thing. I am sorry, Captain.
Can I roll a navigation check to make an excuse to go towards it?
You may certainly do so. I'll allow me to clarify here. Are you seeking to develop some sort of navigational technobabble to explain why the ship needs to stop there, or are you just taking command authority and piloting the ship there?
I want to get closer to it.
I mean,
In
are
other words, yes.
So yes.
at warp.
Not like I'm going to notice. I'm down here.
Yeah, at warp you are passing by. I mean, big as space is, you are pretty much going to run right past it in a minute. So, you could very slightly deviate the course. You could reduce a minimum warp to a lower warp factor in order to take marginally more time to look at it, or you could just outright drop out of warp in order to investigate.
How dare you? How dare you blindly swallow the plot?
Let's see. What would my character do?
Blindly swallow the plot.
Yeah, we'll come out of warp for a brief moment, and then I'll apologize, and I'll apologize later.
Yeah, well, we're all going to feel the transition back to regular, out of subspace. What are you doing, Azik?
Has Azik left the comm channel open, or have you since closed it?
I closed that thing.
Then I'm pushing on the button on the wall. Azik, what are you doing?
Let's transition
Why are
up
we
to
dropping out of warp?
Let's transition up to the bridge now, where let's see here.
It's like that scene in the old Batman movie where the red phone is blinking and Azik is ignoring it.
Volpry starts to move a hand towards it, but as he gets at least one look from Cheshire before that happens. Wait, I don't take orders from the cat. Woe told me I didn't have to do that for that one anymore, but, well, Azik, what are we doing?
Take as many sensor sweeps as you can to figure out what's going on.
I appreciate that. Hmm. Let's see here. Oh dear, my mistake from earlier seems to have given the GM one threat. Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
you needed more of that.
I like that momentum that you gave yourself instead.
yes. I spend that one momentum to buy two threat.
Nope.
No.
Oh, you
No, I will fix my mistake here. Um, with that being said, Vopri is going to attempt one more reason and science roll in order to discern what he's dealing with here. If one of you would care to roll for the ship, it would be assisted with sensors and science. Uh, Let us see what I can find out. I get one success. That is one success on the board for Vopri. Would anyone care
sensors
to?
and science.
Yes.
One die or two?
A single die to assist. Okay, and with the additional roll from the ship, that would be two successes. Hmm. Oh well, there is. This is very odd, Mr. Azik. That there is in fact a whole freighter there. Hmm. The and it appears, yes, there's freighter. There's a small debris cloud, but I'm not picking up much from the object there. Um, at this point, Tabak, would you like to storm into the bridge?
I was just actually typing, I'm going to stomp my angry ass up to the bridge.
Gotcha. Um, did you bring Rlaldaar with you or leave him to repair disruptors?
He's still fixing stuff. I was just there to supervise.
Gotcha. So Tabak, you enter the bridge. Oh,
What in the name of Kalus's balls are you doing?
Captain, there's a ship over there.
yes,
Why?
a D5 configuration. It's a standard freighter configuration and very similar actually to the D5 type craft. Um, Vopri has pulled up the visual, and you see directly ahead of you uh, an intact, uh, an intact, basically top of the line standard freighter, or at least one that would have been considered top of the line. It is the primary freighter of sorts that has been in use for um, major Klingon cargo services. There may have been other vessels that have since supplanted it, but it is definitely it is one that bears a striking similarity to the hull styling of a D5, but is noticeably shorter and somewhat less armed, but making up for that in cargo capacity.
Yeah, Klingons just have a tendency of just taking a ship that works and changing its size. Anyway, as I'm getting on the bridge and he starts talking to me, I basically give Azik a Klingon version of a Gibbs, which is I think in human terms is closer to a punch in the back of the head.
Captain, it appears that I am not detecting any life signs on the craft. Barely any energy signature, but it appears slightly warm still. There may have been people on it at some point, but they're not present.
And what was the explosion?
I believe there is this debris field here. Trying to make out exact nature of it. The materials appear to be various alloys of varying quality, configuration. Based on mass, I would presume relatively small craft, possibly even smaller than us.
Klingon manufacture?
There are parts that appear Klingon, but there are others that
You
appear.
can tell by the composition of the material.
Yes, and generally
Bachanite, probably.
that would Vopri just shrinks.
You needed ways to make money. There's a way to make money. If there's profit on that ship, I'm sounding like a bloody Ferengi at this point.
Yeah.
If
Tabak, sorry to interrupt there, Azik, but if you would like, you may take a look at Vopri's sensor readings in order. If you'd rather not wait for his explanation, you can always look them over yourselves.
Yeah, I'll
Otherwise,
try to do that.
okay. I'm going to call this Engineering and Insight, and that will be a difficulty 2 roll.
And that is 2 dice. And I don't know if any of my foci would xenotechnology apply?
You know, I'd be willing to give you that.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that gets you back a momentum. Um, so, Tabak, from what you are, as you just like cut off Vopri and look over the sensors, you want something right, do it yourself. You realize that his statements, although roundabout, were not entirely wrong. There are indeed signs of some uh, alloys that would be common on a Klingon ship, but not in sufficient quantity to to firmly identify it as that. Indeed, you see a varying mismatch of different materials, which suggest, if anything, some sort of cobbled together starship made of variable parts, and something definitely maybe close to the same weight class or crew capability as the Yan, but very different composition.
Pack lids.
we look for things. We look for things that tell us no.
Yeah,
What
you
about
do.
the? What was that?
You do know the most likely people that would be running a ship like this.
And those would be.
Those would be in your in the Roll20 chat. A message to you, Tabak.
Oh, I didn't look down there. I apologize.
All good.
Ah,
And as I was saying,
who in our ship? Who in our ship also knows about these guys? Like
they're
has detailed information.
they're probably fairly well known among most of the crew. The one person who'd probably have the least experience with them, well, I suppose if it were two people, then Traven probably hasn't dealt with them, and Cressek probably hasn't seen a lot of them. Um, although
Yeah.
there's always a chance he'd have seen them on Quotacore.
I am guessing, from what these readings indicate, that this was a Creel ship.
Really? You mean the scavengers of different Klingon battlefields that. Um,
Any battlefield that just happen to operate mostly in our space.
yes, Captain.
And there are no life signs on board that hauler.
I detect no signs. I'm having difficulty with the. I am having some difficulties getting precise scans aboard the freighter. It is near as I can guess, it is a slightly older but different hull material. I, I do not know enough to say precisely when something like it would have been built, but it is having a mild dispersive effect on sensors. I can discern some signs of relative temperature, possible availability of low-level power systems, but not much else.
Is gravity functional?
Mm,
Are you picking
I,
up graviton decay?
I believe I am picking some up. The craft may have been partially activated uh, before they suffered their accident, Captain.
Well, it's not as cold as space, which means there's still life support, at least heat. Can you detect an internal atmosphere?
There are signs of some possible atmosphere in the main in parts of the main hull. There are no signs of hull breaches either, so any atmosphere that is there should hopefully be stable.
Smelling a lot of if.
Mm, I I I do
Can
not.
you get us coordinates for the transporter?
I can. Yes, Captain.
Get them. Transfer the coordinates down to the transporter. Cressek, Rlaldaar,
Yes, Captain.
Yes.
we're going to beam over to the other ship.
There's another ship?
There is, yes.
Life signs?
Indeterminate. You can barely detect the atmosphere, that there's a breathable atmosphere inside.
Understood.
Is a Klingon cargo hauler. Azik,
Yes, Captain.
you're coming too, seeing as I apparently can't trust you to fly my ship where and when I tell you to.
Technically, you didn't say not to investigate,
Azik,
but okay. Curiosity did kill the Azik, so.
it might just do that.
Well, if the Gawk Pockets didn't kill me, then I think I'll be okay with a little non-life formed ship.
If that fool makes those again, at your insistence, I will space the both of you.
Oh, we've already sent the patent off to Kronos.
If they issue it, I will blow this ship up
But
with all hands.
But Captain, this is your only ship.
With all hands. I will not be associated with that. Azik, that's called. I'm not Azik. Volpright, that is called sarcasm.
I am unfamiliar with that Klingon ritual.
Evidently. All right. Get to the transporter room.
I guess if you want Azik to come along, I'll lend a hand.
Oh.
Well, so it sounds like at the captain's orders, the senior officers present are going. Are you requesting any additional characters to be present? I could offer to let you bring along a supporting character as NPC if you so desire.
Yeah, my best buddy bodyguard guy. Yeah.
Gotcha. Dekoth can be there. In any scenes
Yeah.
where Azik and Dekoth are there, with your permission, of course, there, Jill, I can play Dekoth, and then should you be separated, you can take back over when we go to moments with where you can jump between the characters, basically.
That works.
All right.
Okay. So just so we know, everybody remembers, we have to go up a deck because the transporter room is on the crew deck, right next to the captain, and across the hallway from the med bay.
Indeed, and you begin making your way back towards that area.
Question.
Yes.
Is there still a Targ in Woe's room?
Probably.
Okay.
We
Cool.
we'll find that out later. I don't know whether whether Woe has kept Mr. Fluffums in the or in her quarters, or whether she eventually wound up letting Traven take back the pet Targ.
And cook them.
Oh, Traven hasn't been cooking any Targ.
Yeah,
Not
I know.
anything fresh at any rate.
I know he's been doing horrible, horrible things with Gach.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Okay.
Deceitful.
Well, do you want anyone else brought along in an NPC role?
Would rather not leave the ship unattended.
Okay.
So I think we can do it just us.
Okay. Um, obviously, like this won't affect things until next week. Save for perhaps for the briefest of attempts at the accent. But would you be requesting or slash ordering, volunteering Woe to man the bridge for now?
Yeah, she can keep an eye on things.
No, gotcha.
I don't know how she. I don't. I have never known her to be able to fly the ship, so she probably can't take it anywhere.
Yep. Um,
And I think she likes me, so I don't think she'd try to steal the ship.
not so far as you know.
Not so
She,
far as I know.
yep. She is a bit of a puzzle, that one.
An
But
enigma wrapped in a puzzle filled with nougat. Right.
yep. As it's going along, Bahan is also moving up to the bridge so that somebody can pilot. What? Why me? I'm, I'm,
You can fly a ship, right?
I have flown ships,
Good.
parts of
Well, then,
ships.
wait, what? Parts of ships?
Yes, when that was all that was left of them. I've flown
Well,
the whole ones before, though, too.
good. You're not necessarily going anywhere, but in case the ship needs to move, you need someone who can do it, and you are secondary.
Okay. So with that, Bahan will continue his move up to the bridge, and yeah, you will. The boarding party will assemble in the transporter room, set pending, and let's see. We have Dekoth, Rlaldaar, Azik, and Cressek, along with Captain Tabok. So let me just move in the tokens. Um, so as you arrive in the transporter room, you find that none other than Croker has come aboard, rather, has come into the transporter room, shaking out his luscious locks of hair. Mm. Well, Captain, I've got a sight for you here. Mr. Vopri is not picking up any signs of active transporter pad, or if they've got one, then it's not something he can lock on to beam you there. It must not be active. So best we're gonna do is have to put you down in the in a section where the hull plating is just a little bit less disruptive. But don't you worry, I'm gonna make sure every pretty little hair on your head gets reassembled just perfectly.
Just get us on the ship. Alive, preferably.
What about my hair?
I don't
Oh,
even want to know where you have hair.
uh, you're you're all in very good hands here.
I should hope so.
And so with that, Croker will engage the transporter. So that should be control and engineering, supported, I believe it is by the ship's structure and engineering. There's a
I
chance though
can
that,
never remember. It's either that or
yeah,
it's computers and engineering.
yeah. The thing about transporters is that what is it? Yeah, the one thing you always remember is that the task is variable. And for those who are less familiar with the mechanics, I will say that transporter running a transporter beam is a marginally more involved task. Obviously, for everything a player conducts a task, and for the transporters, the thing to remember about them is that the difficulty can be a bit variable. It starts at a base difficulty of 2, but that difficulty can increase if you are beaming them from a place that is not a transporter pad, and if you are beaming them to a place that is not a transporter pad. Basically, it makes site-to-site transporters highly impractical, practical and inefficient, which makes sense. They don't do away with it until the 32nd century, when everybody has a comm badge that is also a transporter buffer, apparently. Um,
Yeah, but
so,
wouldn't just some standard transporter functions not even require die rolls?
some of them would not, but I think that
But
this,
for poops and grins, we need one. Gotcha.
yeah,
It's also, I just checked, it's sensors and engineering
yes,
for transporter.
I was verifying exactly that while doing this, and while Tabak, I would generally agree that there are some very routine matters. This one, I think, would be, um, you're a ship out there on your own, beaming from a transporter pad to not a transporter pad, so something has to give here, I think. That being said, I should ask here, how much how are we going as far as armament is concerned?
Um, I have put on my
You have your mechliths with you.
I have my necklace. I have my disruptor pistol. I have my tag, and I'm wearing my cobbled together armor. No one better be bringing any grenades.
I am
Yeah,
bringing just my pistol and my medical equipment.
I guess I'll bring the rifle.
Ooh, okay.
so we are paying an escalation cost then. That
Is it both? Is it an opportunity cost as well for the rifle, or is it just an escalation?
um,
Let's see.
so I think in this particular case, since you very expressly have the I mean, you're going out from your ship, and you have very expressly decided to, or like decided on this armament package, and indeed you paid momentum for it earlier. I think that I will just treat this as escalation. There may be other times where you are out on a mission and you haven't bothered to pick up, or you didn't bother to go in with the weapons necessarily, and those might be
We're
times where, it, let's say there are
Mr.
circumstances where,
GM. GM.
yes,
I'm pretty sure that as Klingons, we're gonna go everywhere we can, armed to the teeth.
indeed
Just
so.
saying.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost is cheaper than escalation cost.
Uh, but escalation is paid in threat.
Yeah, we're paying opportunity.
Yeah, no such luck. Anyway, um,
Cringe.
anyway, so yeah, you all now have the option of going in with, let's see, I believe you may carry thermite grenades with you.
Oh,
Disruptor rifles are also an option, and if someone really wants it, there is the Gintuk spear.
There's also that plasma repeater, right?
Yes, which, for reasons, well, I suppose balanced by the fact it's meant to be inaccurate, I didn't actually give that the escalation cost to that. I really
Gotcha.
should, but that the package you guys picked is something meant for it's meant for like open ground combat as opposed to the necessarily a boarding type action. But here we are.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just taking the pistol.
Yep. So
yeah, yeah. The disruptor pistol is in my hand too. It is drawn
yes.
for when we do.
Okay.
Mine
So
is not. I'm just gonna have like my scanners and stuff out.
yep. So Rlaldaar, you do get a rifle. You may also bring additional weapons if you so wish.
Well, my disruptor pistol in Dagger, the classics.
Yes.
The duck tag.
Yep. There's of course the rifle too, and then did you want? I know Tabak ordered no grenades here, but would you like to
Yeah, but
sneak one?
apparently no one likes to finish. No one actually likes to listen to my orders. Apparently.
Yes, that
I
was.
don't need a grenade.
Yes, you can do plenty of damage all on your own.
Dekoth will put the take the grenade out of Azik's hand and put it back where it was.
I gotcha. Let's see. Do you want anything in particular for anything else in particular for Azik or Dekoth?
Both of them have disruptor pistols and daggers, so I think they're
Okay.
good to go.
Okay, Dekoth's not worrying about a repeater or a repeater, spear, or rifle.
Nah.
Gotcha.
If he needs to get that close to something, they're already going to be dead. So.
All right. So with that, Croker's gonna say, "All right, stay safe, you bunch." And they're going to energize the transporters. That'll be 2 successes to start with, and 1 from the ship with sensors and engineering, if somebody would care to get that.
Ship. Sensors and engineering coming up here. Very good. They're already selected. Oh, nope, that was science. Engineering. Oh. 1 die.
Yes, the ship, whenever it assists, always rolls a single die. And
Yeah.
tell you what, would you like? Technically, it is just lower than the success threshold. I will permit either, if you would like to retroactively drop a momentum, I could allow you to let Croker roll 1 more d20 and say that was momentum spent, or you may succeed at cost.
Sure, let's do that. We only have 2 and you have 12, so yeah, we might as well.
I didn't say I was going to take threat. And indeed, I'll tell you that I won't if I succeed at cost.
It's not like you need any more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm
not
going to take any more threat.
You can't get any more, though, can you?
Oh no, I could take more threat if I wanted to. But yeah, you've already dropped the momentum, so I will go ahead and roll. There we go. There's a moment where there's the hum of the transporter as you are engulfed by the yellowish orange light, and there's a moment where Croker's self-assured look momentarily gives way to something a little more perturbed, but with a smack at the console and a few more commands entered in, the beam begins to fully dematerialize you, and the 5 of you find yourselves on the deck with every hair, scale, and piece of equipment that you otherwise brought along. All of it is intact.
Yep. Disruptor pistols in one hand, with the other hand, just do a quick check to make sure that everything still is
Yeah, everything's right. Disruptor pistols in your right hand to your left. Your left hand is free just in case you need it on your right. Wait a minute.
Wait. I can count the number of mistakes on that.
Azik now only has a right arm.
But it's not his.
It's a Gorn arm. Oh no.
You wouldn't do that to us.
No. I think that honestly, very early in the when I was conceiving of this campaign, I had considered the idea of giving you a transporter chief that would just have a plasma shotgun at the ready to say, transporter mistake, is it? We have ways of dealing with those.
Oh, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
You ain't from around here, are you?
And it may yet still happen.
Could be. Alrighty, so what's the lighting level? What's the situation?
So as you
What does the deck
begin,
taste like?
as you materialize, you find yourself in a corridor, very much like the one aboard the On. As you enter in, the lighting is more of a darker bluish type hue to it, but much more interspersed lighting. It's pretty clear that there may have been a recent activation of some of these systems, but it's down to sort of an emergency level.
Okay.
I would
Sorry.
just a very residual sort of residual lighting system, and it's not the emergency lights themselves. If there's any chemical power to them that are active, it is purely just residual lighting systems that have managed to just barely hold a charge of some sort. They're living off God knows what. Um, in terms of the rest of the environment, the air tastes a bit cooler than would be comfortable for most of you. Maybe the Gorn, or at least find this a little more pleasant. It's not quite as stuffy as the Yon and other Klingon ships you've been aboard would be. Rlaldaar, though, being used to it, you might have at least somewhat acclimated. I'd say Cressek probably has the most, it gets the most benefit out of this, if anything.
What's the temperature?
I
Or that was what we were just talking, weren't we?
Yeah. I would say there's probably a bit of a nip. In terms of Fahrenheit, probably be close to a little above 50 degrees.
Okay.
My
Is the
conversion to
air thin?
Celsius is failing me. Not as thin as you would expect. There's definitely a stale quality to it, but it feels like there's been somebody might have had life support working at a minimal level at some point.
Okay, so the
Fairly recently.
air itself isn't even moving.
Yeah, the air isn't presently moving, but
Okay.
the quality that you are getting from the air around you suggests that this is a more recent development, or maybe that maybe it had been inactive for a time and it started again and then stopped. It's hard to say precisely.
Okay, is there a computer access panel anywhere nearby?
Nothing outside of the normal like door controls, essentially.
Okay. Can I get a signal back to the Yan?
Um, you may indeed. You can pull out a communicator and signal at your leisure.
All right. I tell what's his face that transport was successful.
Oh, I'm just delighted to hear that, Captain.
Stay ready to grab us out of here should we need it.
Uh,
Do you have a lock on us still?
oh, I'm keeping my eyes squarely on you, Captain Tabak.
Thank you for the disturbing imagery. Close the channel.
I would like to scan for life signs now that we're on board.
Okay. Reason and science, please. Yes, reason and science to start with. And I'm going to set the difficulty on this task. Are you... how narrow are you scanning exactly? Or are you just... You know what? I'm just going to say reason and science, and the difficulty will remain that will just remain a mystery.
Okay. And then I don't think any of my focuses apply, correct?
No, not at present.
I know which one he was asking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was medicine.
Yes, go ahead and switch that around there. As delicious as that 20 looks right now.
You're good. You still get it. Look at that.
Oh,
Hey!
God.
All right.
This die roller, man, is weighted to the
Doctor,
top.
you score a single success. With that, I will. Well, before I give you that, since you have rolled a complication, I will first ask you: would you prefer to take your complication as a narrative change, or would you prefer to give the GM a single point of threat?
Give me the narrative.
All right. So
Hell yeah.
you begin conducting your scans, and well, from the looks of things here, Cressek, this sealed can of sorts has been it seems to not have any major sign of much more than, at least in the immediate area, what you can get. Not much more sign than maybe trace amounts of microbial life, but there's not even been much to sustain that. Uh, you realize that you're having quite a bit of difficulty even scanning in the main perimeter of this corridor. It seems that you've been placed on what would be the equivalent of what seems to be the main deck, near the like the terminus of the like main hull and what would go into the ship's what would go into the ship's neck and lead towards the bridge. That's essentially forward of your position. Behind you would be where the ship's reactor pit would be. Um, Obviously, there are some similarities. There are some important differences, I would think, between the D5 type configuration that the freighter's based on, compared to the Raptor class, but there are some broad similarities I would expect in the deck plan. So you're I would think you've probably got fairly similar elements of what to expect here. But yeah, otherwise, you're not getting much readout from either above or below this deck. You're not getting much of a readout past parts of the neck, and nothing really from the reactor pit, um, or anything too far aft. There's some sort of interference that is coming into play, and you don't think it's necessarily active measures of some sort. There's just something about this ship that is making it very difficult to get a precise readout. Um, as you say, as you complete your scan, it at least seems definitive that there's no life on board, or no
No
sentient life
life.
that you recognize. And
No life.
the moment you say that, there is the sound of clattering and buckling, uh, just somewhere indistinct but nonetheless reverberating.
No biological life that my scanner can detect.
Can I do a reason security?
What are you attempting to figure out with that particular
If
roll?
there was internal fighting, scorch marks on the walls might indicate disruptor blasts. Boxes and stuff kind of off kilter because somebody bumped into them.
Oh, let's say from this corridor, I think that would be more of an insight and security task, and I will permit you to roll. Let's call this, for someone as unseasoned, let's say, as Dekoth, let's raise this up to, let's call this a difficulty 3.
Okay.
3.
Dekoth, in looking around, try as you might, there don't seem to be too many signs of anything off kilter, but there you don't notice any signs of, say, disruptor blasts on the around the hull or anything of the sort. The lighting is pretty low, of course, but there are certain obvious discolorations that you would at least come to expect. You know what discolorations on a Klingon ship are generally standard for the course, and you don't see any signs of the carbon scoring or anything like that. Um, really, it's unusual though that you don't see many. I mean, obviously you don't know how long this freighter's been out here, but it is a little odd to not see any signs of, or no recent sign of any sort of crew activity. Albeit, again, you're dealing with an access corridor. Uh, mm,
Yes, but if
but
it's the main access corridor from the main hull to the bridge, it's going to see a lot of traffic.
yeah, and that's just the thing. You don't see. It doesn't look like anybody has walked down this way in some time.
I'll relay that to the Captain Tabak.
What I had assumed. Rlaldaar, get to the
Yes.
engine room. Cressek, find crew. Azik, get to the bridge. See if we can get power going on this beast again. And you come with me. We're going to just look. Yes, I just pulled a Scooby-Doo, and yes, we're going to
Split up and search for clues, gang.
Close enough.
Literally searching for crews right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, split up and look for crews, gang. So.
Oh, wrong guy.
Yep.
It's old man Peabody all along.
You should have brought Cheshire as the honorary Scooby-Doo mascot.
Yeah.
No, I don't bring Cheshire off the ship if I can help it. That's my baby.
Yes. Well, anyway, whilst BiHnuch is mixing characters and thus creating the horrible splice of Goofy Doo, I just want to make sure that I have an accurate track of where characters are going. So that would be, Sydney, you wanted to go forward yourself with Dakoth and, or you were taking Dakoth and Azik with you?
Yeah, we were gonna head to the bridge, and then after I got Azik to the bridge and we looked around, I was gonna take Dakoth with me, and we were just gonna sort of wander, go down the corridors, check rooms, check all the closets,
Gotcha.
Visually, we're not relying on sensor equipment to see anything.
Okay. Rlaldaar, you wanted to head back to the engine room, and then Cressek,
I'm looking for crew.
Yes, Cressek is looking for crew.
Okay, so go ahead.
I guess that would mean I'm heading toward that strange noise that we heard behind us, right?
It was sufficiently indistinct that you are not actually sure where it was coming from.
Okay, so in that case, is there a role that I can do, or would I know in an emergency situation like this, where might crew hole up and wait? Or would that be a role that I would have to do to see if I would know that?
I think that as in your role, particularly as a medical officer, you might have gained a bit of an understanding. I'll tell you what. Since you guys are low on momentum, we could make this let's call this reason and I'd be tempted to say command here, I think,
Okay.
for the emergency protocols.
Would emergency medicine wouldn't apply. Psychoanalysis wouldn't apply. No focuses. Okay. And difficulty?
Let's call this difficulty 1, since you are, again, since you guys are a bit low on momentum, this would be something to help out. Okay, so with 2 successes, that does net you 1 momentum. Hey, you had to beat a 13 there. Nice.
Fitting.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Cressek, it does occur to you that in the event of an emergency, hmm, I do think Klingon ships of the era actually do have escape pods. At least that
Not in
was
this
the.
era. Not until next gen era do they even consider escape pods on ships.
But that's not
If they gotta,
entirely true. Uh, I guess you could say that the 22nd century bird of prey, that maybe they just have a pod that they, it's not so much an escape pod as it is a exile somebody and let them starve and die slowly or get picked up by another ship pod as opposed to an escape pod, because the augments dump Eric Sung out of when
it's probably probably just a space. They probably just put them in a torpedo case and then chuck them out the window.
it was a bit larger than that, I remember, but
Their Klingon torpedoes can get up to like 3 meters long, something
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. We'll have to rule on that. In terms of habitable parts of the ship, um, I would suspect, Cressek, that your best guesses are that you know, if crew were trying to survive for any prolonged amount of time, there'd probably be some. Uh, there might be a few redundancies, not that many on a Klingon ship, but it might have made sense for someone to, if they were trying to like survive and conduct repairs, they might have tried to just take supplies back to the reactor pit, presuming that wasn't irradiated or anything of the sort. Sick bay might have been conceivable as well. Somebody might have even tried to hole up in the galley for a time if anyone was still alive. There's Generally speaking, you would probably wanted to have been somewhere in the body of or the main body of the craft.
So I would say that my biases take over. So I'm going to be heading to sickbay
Okay,
because that's where any reasonable being would go.
indeed. So, let's go then in terms of let's make a roll for narrative initiative, which I do as a house rule. I will ask, in this case, Tabak, Cressek, and Rlaldaar, each of you to roll me a single d20. And because this is Star Trek Adventures, I will treat the lowest roll as the best case, or at least give you first pick. So in this case, we actually had Cressek roll right off the bat with a natural 1, which would give you the top choice. So would you like to take your turn first? Would you prefer to pass for the moment?
I have to run to the loo, so I think I will pass to the next player.
Okay, in that case, let's move up to Tabak and his group here, who rolled a 10, followed by Rlaldaar's 12. So, um, Tabak, you, Azik, and Dekoth make your way to the forward section. Um, you are thankful that artificial gravity is continuously functioning, or rather that it seems to have, whoever was here earlier seems to have, well, they left things on recently enough that there's still a residual artificial gravity field, thus keeping you adhered to the deck plate.
That's good. I mean, on Federation ships, the gravity is going to be the last thing to go out. It lasts for like 24 hours after power is shut off. I don't know how it works for Klingons. I have never read any stats on that.
Well, we do know that one good torpedo hit can pretty quickly disable it.
Then typically it's constantly running. That's what that suggests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonder.
But from the given its current state, it suggests that at least there is some slight power from somewhere going into this, and thus keeping you adhered to the deck plate.
Just enough to keep us from flying away. Does the gravity feel light? Or does it feel still running one standard Klingon gravity?
I think it's slightly lower than what you were used to.
Okay. Alright, so, to the bridge.
Yep. So, you leave your Gorn companions behind and find yourself crossing down to the towards the bridge, going through the darkened, cool corridors. Given the relative age of the design, obviously, it's not necessarily Tabak as you move through. You realize that it's maybe a little bit older than uh, you might have initially thought, or it looks like it could be. Some of the displays look like they probably haven't been built terribly recently, but it at least seems very well maintained. It seems to be a fair enough ship for the duties that it would have performed, and probably not a bad addition if you decided you were looking for a fleet. Underarmed, but not so bad. Not so bad otherwise.
Good.
Um, you make your way to the door. You make your way up through the neck towards the bow, where the door to the main bridge lies. The door does not immediately open for you.
Okay, check the access panel.
The panel appears to be unpowered currently.
Okay. Hit find the manual release, pop that little hatch, and pump till the hydraulics let go.
Okay. That will be one control and engineering roll. And the difficulty again will be set to 1.
Control engineering. Probably a focus would fit, would it not? Maybe not. No, actually.
What would you think most likely to apply?
The only one I could think of would be the electroplasma system, seeing as everything is powered by the electroplasma system. But I'm doing it manually, so...
Indeed, that does kind of work against it there.
I don't know if any of my talents work, like jury rig. I don't know about that would work.
Not quite, I think.
Yeah, so no focuses. There we go. And here's the die roll. What I get? Oh, that's
3 successes. So finding the proper seam for the deck panel, like in the wall panel, you manage to pull away and expose the mechanism that will allow for the manual release. You heave at the lever necessary to get the hydraulics working. The door the door begins to steadily open like a great sideways maw before you, as the two hatches move either to port or starboard.
okay. Now,
Or doors
as the
retract.
door opens, I have a couple of questions. A, do we get sucked into the door?
You do not. There is no vacuum.
Okay.
The bridge is not vacuum.
Okay. 2, do we get a burst of atmosphere from the bridge coming out into the hallway?
As if to would that be to imply like running or a running air supply, or is that what your question?
That could be life support is working on the bridge. That could be atmospheric pressure is a little higher on the bridge. It could be that the bridge is warmer, because all of those would increase the atmospheric pressure inside the bridge.
Fair questions. I will give you that you do notice there is a very slight brush of air. As an engineer, and indeed, um, Azik, you would recognize this too as somebody who's been on ships a fair bit. Um, you can tell that there isn't like any of the telltale sounds of working ventilation or anything that would suggest that the air supply is moving in the bridge, nor that there's much power. But there may have been more recently. The bridge does indeed seem just a little bit warmer than the rest, than the bit of the ship that you were coming through.
Okay. So you just answered my next question. If I'm hearing any sounds or seeing any lights coming out as the door cracks open.
There is a very little bit of light from maybe a console or two, but most of them appear to be completely dark.
Okay, and then the last question, which may be a weird one. Does it smell weird? Like rotting corpses, bad air, things have been burnt? Kind of what I'm looking for. Did somebody turn something on and let the smoke out? Or did people die? That sort of thing.
There are no smells that you can distinguish in this room beyond the sense of very stale air.
Okay. All right, so we'll get in there as soon as the door is open wide enough, I say to my bodyguard.
All right. I go in, disruptor in hand.
Yeah.
Dekoth does. Azik does not.
Right, that's who I was talking to, because I couldn't remember Dekoth's name for a second there. I apologize.
I ought to have jumped in there too, as he is presently an NPC. Dekoth will jump in, disruptor at the ready, keeping his weapon leveled and prepared to neutralize anything on the business end.
I'm still pumping at the door, so once it finally opened all the way, I guess me and Azik will go in, as long as we don't hear disruptor fire.
Yep. There is indeed nothing as Dekoth walks around the length of the bridge. Captain, I see no signs of any foes on the bridge.
Good. Azik, see what you can do about getting things running. Dekoth, what do you know about ship systems? Nothing. Never mind. Moving on.
I drove tractors back on my homeworld.
Yeah, gotcha. Go to the communications panel. Tap at the big chunky button, see if anything happens.
Nope.
All right, pull out the communicator and the bracer. Try to get Rlaldaar.
For Azik, would that be reason and engineering?
I will allow... Yeah, I think that reason and engineering might apply as you attempt to discern whether there is any like reserve power system to pump in or anything that you can tap a little more with. And I think with that, you might be able to shift around a very little bit, but you're not going to be able to do much without. You're not going to be able to do much until main power is restored. That being said, let us check in with Mr. Rlaldaar.
Oh boy.
Yes, you've been making your way back towards the aft section of the ship near the like towards what you expect to be the reactor pit.
All right.
And you find that as you make your way through a few exceptionally cramped in areas or junctions between the sections, you find that the door to the reactor pit is ahead. It is closed, and the wall panel is unresponsive, or it is presently out.
Let's try and pump it.
Okay. Give me an insight and engineering roll, please. Difficulty on
Alright.
this will be 2. Okay. In the low lighting, you begin to focus in on engaging the ship's the manual release. As you begin to pull away the requisite panels, however, and you get a closer look at the door, you realize that from the main deck, this door seems to have been welded shut.
I see.
Wait, it's welded shut on his side or on the inside?
It appears as though there's active welding on his side of the door.
I was confused for a moment. Sorry.
Welding. Well, this is what percussive maintenance is for.
If only the captain had let you bring one of those thermite grenades.
It is a thermite grenade when you have a disruptor.
Fair enough.
Now, this ship is just about the same size as ours, or significantly larger?
So a freighter is going to be a little bit more bulky. Some of that coming from the underslung modules that it was carrying. However, it is actually a bit shorter, or quite a bit shorter, actually. I think that the cargo configuration of the D5 is only about 70 meters long.
That's like half the length of our ship.
Exactly.
Our ship's 149 meters long.
I think that most of that comes from the net being very compressed.
Okay, so he's going to start shooting his disruptor at that door. The bridge door is still wide open, and he's maybe 30 meters away. Yeah, I think we're going to hear that. Okay.
Yeah. As you're reaching for your communicator, Rlaldaar, please give me a control and security roll with a difficulty of 2. 3 successes. Yep, you level your disruptor and pull the trigger. A great bolt of green surrounded by a swirling distortion of color roars forward as the air shrieks around you from the disruptor bolt flying its short distance to the door.
So I'm on the bridge pushing the button. Hey, Rlaldaar, fram! Oh crap!
Yeah. Now from your place in the from your place on the bridge, you hear down the corridor the very brief sound of like an energy burst, the hiss and shriek of the disruptor as it reverberates down the corridors, and the loud sound of something hitting a deck plate extremely hard.
Okay, so at that point, I tell Azik, stay here, and I take my bodyguard, and we go sprinting the 30 meters or so down the hallway.
Cressek, Rlaldaar, sorry. Rlaldaar, you find that your disruptor bolt seems to have put a good-sized dent in this. I think with that extra success there, I would be willing to say that it'll be a tight squeeze, but you you probably you probably damaged enough of the welding such that you could probably use the manual release now to clear the rest of the way. You're not crawling through the hole that you made. You probably didn't make that much of a hole with your disruptor pistol.
But he got the locking mechanism. Or the weld. He blew out the weld.
Yeah. With 3 successes on that task, I think it's fair to say that, yeah, that was enough. So yeah, I'll just give you that from here you begin pumping at the manual release. A very trivial task in the absence of like for a nice big scaly boy such as yourself.
At which point we come stomping up behind him with weapons drawn. What are you shooting at?
Oh. The door was welded shut.
Welded. Shut.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So you shot it.
Yes.
Hold on a moment before you open that any further. Touching on the communicator, trying to get Cressek.
Let's see. Rev, would you be back at this point? Oh, yep, you are. Okay.
Yes, I am back.
All right, Doctor. As you are walking about the up to the medical bay, you get a chirp, or rather a beep from your communicator.
I still have not found any crew yet.
Good, that's fine. We don't have anything weird in the atmosphere, do we?
Not that I detected.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure that Rlaldaar was in his right frame of mind before he shot a door.
Ah, that's what that was.
Yes.
I see. No, nothing in the air. That I know of.
Good. And you have found no bodies?
Not yet. It is not right.
That is the perfect way to put it. Continue.
Cressek out.
Did you check behind the door, Rlaldaar? Is
The door that was welded shut.
you have 0 power to any panel?
Yep. No power.
Did you bring a tricorder? No.
Only the basic work one.
That could tell you if there's atmosphere on the other side of the door before you open it. You want to do that?
Well, there's already a hole, so.
Yep.
Fairly certain there's atmosphere.
I would hope, yes.
Yep.
Should have checked that first. Continue, then. Do the Klingon version of a baseline.
Gotta say, that is Tabak at his most passive-aggressive.
He can do that. He can do that a lot.
Indeed. So,
Apparently, it's his whole command style is based on passive aggressivity. I just made up a new word.
That wasn't even in Klingon. So, presuming you you two lumber off, Rlaldaar, you continue at the manual release mechanism, and sure enough, the door does give way to show you the reactor pit. The room appears fairly dim, although there are some consoles that appear at least to be illuminated. Although there's no signs of the usual readouts that would be on any of the displays. They appear to be blank at present.
All right.
So, what would you like to do?
Well, there's no power flowing. Let's see if we can get this thing turned on. Or, inspect it for damage.
Okay, give me an insight and engineering roll.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. GM, at this point, me and my bodyguard are going to start going up and down the deck, just looking through all of the doors and rooms that we can find.
Sounds good. All right. Rlaldaar, you have scored 2 successes, which I will say is enough for your task here. However, you have scored a complication as well. It's actually kind of neat. You had a natural 1 and a natural 20. So, with regard to that complication, would you prefer to A, buy that off with momentum, B, take a narrative complication, or C, give the GM 2 threat?
Narrative complication is funny.
That it is. Rlaldaar, it occurs to you as you enter the engineering pit that there is indeed signs of a. There are signs that while the engine room is presently in a low power mode, it does occur to you that there should be at least a part. There should be some like emergency power functions that if the rest of the if the engineering were otherwise functional, maybe you could at least conceivably engage, say, the fusion drive system, and while you wouldn't be warp capable, it would supply ample power to the other ship systems around, and you're not seeing any signs of outright damage to the engine room, so I think that you've got you might have a decent way forward if you want to try and start feeding power to the main systems.
Sus. All right. Let's try and get this running then.
Okay. You begin with none of the consoles immediately serviceable, it seems, or that none of the consoles, even the ones that appear active, seem to respond to your touch with every press of the bulky buttons or attempt to interact with it. There's nothing that is responding on an autonomous basis. However, you probably have there are probably some ways that you could re-engage these systems manually. So I think you could probably pull away a panel somewhere and try to start manually re-engaging those systems.
All right. All right.
All right. You go over, and based on your knowledge of these types of craft, you think you find a portion. And as you begin pulling away the panel and looking at the interior, you hear, not entirely sure from where, it seems very proximate, the right coupling.
Sort of look over my shoulder and just like, what the fuck?
There is no one there.
Captain, are you micromanaging me again?
Did you just say that out loud, or did you say that into the communicator?
Say that out loud.
Okay.
There is no answer. Shunt power through the starboard coupling.
Voice in my head. I don't think I exactly trust that. I'm gonna go through this the standard way before taking suggestions from not my inner voice.
You
Okay.
say that out loud.
Nah, I don't say out loud.
Do you do anything else as far as like reaction to hearing the voice?
It's just the same look around, and I'm gonna try and do this the standard proper way. I'm not taking suggestions from somebody I don't know.
Gotcha. So it does seem as though both power couplings are presently hooked in. They seem older, but they appear to be in functioning condition. You pulling away like the proper bits of wall paneling, you've probably found something that could allow you to activate basically something that would kickstart some sort of power transfer process and allow the battery power to be shunted through the power conduits, and it wouldn't necessarily kickstart the reactor, but it would give you more power to work with here, and then from there you could use that to reinitialize the engineering, or like at least auxiliary power, basically. So,
All right.
do you want to attempt this then?
Yes.
Okay. Because this is a little bit of you're working with older systems, and this is a little bit of an older system, definitely. I think
Even when
that
compared to our ship?
I mean you've been upgrading your ship,
Ah, true. Okay.
but I am going to drop 3 threat for a daring and engineering task that will be difficulty 3.
Oh boy. Well, how about anybody mind if I take spend a point of momentum for an extra die?
Do it.
Do it.
All right.
I believe that you all. Do you have any focuses that would relate to the power systems?
EPS power systems.
That will apply then.
All right. Oh.
That is a single success, which, while not scoring any complications,
Is insufficient.
yeah. So let's see. You may all. You have. I suppose you have 2 options from here, Rlaldaar. You may elect to. If you have a relevant value, you may elect to spend your point of determination and re-roll the remaining dice in your, or rather, as many d20s in the pool as you wish, or you may elect to succeed at cost, which in this case will be me reclaiming my threat.
I see. I don't think I have a good value for this. I'll just do it at cost then.
All right. The initial attempt at restoring power does not appear to go particularly well. It seems as though after a few attempts at it, you realize that the port coupling is, or it appears to have sustained, it appears to have degraded slightly from wear and tear, and as a result, you have lost some of the power you were attempting to transfer over. You do manage, however, to least use what remaining power you have, you can put it through the starboard coupling. It's going to be a slower process, but you think that within several minutes you might be able to restart auxiliary power. Disappointment. As to be expected from you. HeghDuj! And we will... Oop, I did not mean to give Cressek that threat.
Are you challenging me?
You are met with no answer. And from there, I think we leave the confines of a seemingly empty engineering pit, save for our Gorn engineer. And we check in with Dr. Cressek, who has made his way up through one of the junctions and into, like, I would think up towards the, yes, I believe the crew deck now was where you were headed, since you were going towards, if memory serves you.
Sickbay.
Yes. The access ways are not terribly comfortable. I know that there are gangways that allow you to move between the decks, which is good because the elevator system is definitely out on this little ship. There are no signs of immediate life as you make your way up the deck, but you do find your way gradually there. There's something about this ship, Cressek, that isn't quite right. The corridors and the layout are close to the same, but maybe it's just the change in deck plan, because the freighter is a little bit it is a little bit bulkier, and while there are not necessarily major changes to to all of the core design elements, there's enough subtlety, there's enough slight differences that you'd probably get a weird sense of things don't quite line up as you would compare it to the Klingon ships you've been on before.
Which is one. So.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Between that and the dark, of course, it is. There's something that just gives things an off feel. That, and,
Yeah.
a recent disruptor shot, which was quickly explained away.
Still odd.
Yes.
That they needed to fire disruptors at anything in this ship.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be continuing on my journey to the sickbay.
Okay. You find your way to the sickbay once again. The door is closed and the wall panel is presently out.
I am going to try to pry the door open.
All right. You find, curiously enough, that there is just enough seam between the door and your, between either end of the door. You realize that this door is not completely closed. There's indeed atmosphere in the room. There's something that seems to hang in the air as you enter the sickbay. Not quite a... Not... It's not quite something that offends your nose, or it's not something terribly pungent, but there is the slight hang in the air of possibly a rot, or something that doesn't quite... You know, a Klingon ship has its own particular smell. You've not been able to get that out, but in a med bay you would expect something marginally more astringent, and that is not the case as you enter this room. only slightly.
What do I see as I enter?
You're give me an insight and medicine. Difficulty of 1.
Any of my focuses apply?
Oh, let me take a quick look over that. Yes.
I have no idea what's in there.
You step in, and the sick bay seems fairly standard as you manage to pry yourself through the door. The lights are very low. This is probably the worst illuminated room yet. But, you know, as you move through in the dark, with a tiny bit of illumination, I'll be as generous as to presume that perhaps your scanner has a light function, or Tabak maybe was thoughtful enough to say everybody bring a flashlight.
I would imagine that's part of a standard away team
Boarding.
equipment.
Let's be
Yeah,
fair,
boarding
these are
equipment.
boarding parties.
Boarding party equipment. Yeah, I'd imagine that's part of standard boarding party equipment.
Yeah.
Some kind of light.
Yeah. Somebody says away mission around a Klingon, and they just laugh it off. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, every bed that you've looked over seems in place. There are medical tools that seem to be strewn about the sick bay, some on the floor, others on proper places on the tables.
On the floor.
Yeah, it appears the sick bay was a little bit out of sorts, or that it fell at some point and nobody was left to put it back in its place. It's not really anything you pay that much. Well, maybe you pay a slight bit of mind to it, so much so that you don't bother to look over at the bio bed immediately to your right until you make contact and you hear something clatter to the ground.
I turn to look.
You look and you realize there are signs of what appear to be a uniformed, well, most of a body anyway. But you look around and you in fact notice that a partially preserved Klingon skull appears to have landed right behind you.
All right, pull out the scanner, start scanning this, try and get as much information as I can.
Okay. I'm going to say this is a reason and medicine roll here. And you do have focuses that will apply to this. I'm going to say, however, the difficulty of this is 4, given its advanced state of decay.
Everyone okay if I take a momentum for an extra die on this?
Take 2.
Well, 2 extra die would be 3 momentum.
Oh. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'll just take 1 for a 3rd die.
Acknowledged. That is
and I have cautious, so I'm
yes.
going to re-roll that.
Yep, that first roll gave you 2 successes and 1 complication. However, with cautious medicine, that does allow you to re-roll that d20 there. So, by all means. Okay, with 3
Not enough, but
with 3 successes, you can at least safely say that this was a Klingon woman, probably somewhere in the range of relatively early adulthood, I would say. Like probably, you know, human and Klingon equivalency is pretty close to say somewhere on the line of early to mid 20s. Presumably someone in decent shape. There is a very slight incongruity with some of the readings you're getting because the allow with the focus on the skull, you're noticing that there are telltale signs that this woman was a Kohath. Um, and yet you are picking up some unusual readings. Before I get to that, actually, I will give you the opportunity. Are there particular questions you want to ask, or anything you would want to know before you get to the really strange part?
How long has this Klingon been dead?
Approximately 40.
Approximately.
Approximately 40 years. Scratch that, actually. Closer to 30 years.
Okay.
I misread something.
What else do I have to ask? Any ideas as to cause of death? Or is it too decayed to get an idea of that?
I think that the way that the body seems to have partly decayed, it would suggest that there may have been some malnutrition. Although there are signs of some slight injuries that occurred beforehand. The decay is bad enough that you can't tell precisely the nature of it, and on some of them, like there appears at least possibly some sort of bladed damage to an arm and to the neck. Very concentrated blade work that was may have been partially healed by a physician back at the time. Um, Such that there's anything left of the like what's left of the body, I would say that there might be some like because of the well, I would say that there are some signs in terms of the remaining bone structure that this was definitely a Koha otherwise. The the one incongruity that you're noting with that, however, I should also say, you notice that this particular individual appeared to have been in restraints, like for the rest of the body. That's actually something to note. Um, so it's possible that they were just left here restrained after something happened to them, and that nobody was able to release them. You could infer possibly that malnutrition was involved, or maybe they were euthanized. There's not as much you can tell from that.
But they've been in. It appears that they died here on the table,
Yes,
and they've been dead for 30 years.
yes. And
Okay.
the other strange thing that you would note, there are some very subtle changes to the bone structure on the cranium. There appear to be the signs of some sort of ridge beginning to reassert itself. And with that, I'm going to drop 2 threat to close out your scene, Doctor, and
Okay.
allow us to jump around. Azik, I'm going to give you the chance to do something on the bridge here if you wish.
Azik at the ready,
Okay.
as long
Is
as
that.
it's not clapping.
Of course. No, just borrow that other guy's arm. He's not using it. He left it behind.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah, oh yeah, clap.
Yep. Anyway, so is there anything in particular? Are there particular ventures on the bridge that you would want to try to do? Anything that you would want to try and access with what little computer power is available here?
Well, my thought would be that the least likely thing that would take the less power would probably be the captain's log. So I'd be trying to access that.
Hmm.
Um,
I
yeah.
will allow you to roll in order to attempt to access something here. Um, you have very little power to work with here, so let's. I think I will call this a daring and let's call this daring and command, actually, in order to properly interface with the command protocols here.
I
I'm
would like
going
to spend a momentum for one extra die on this one, I think.
That is good because it is going to be a difficulty 5 roll, and I am dropping 1 point of threat in order to increase the complication range.
Captain's already going to kill me for that stunt earlier, so might as well just make it happen.
Yep. As a Klingon might say, YOLO! Okay, so with that, you rolled 2 successes. You find that you actually managed to secure partial access. There appear to be a number of logs here left by the previous captain that you are files that you are just able to uncover. It was weird. It was kind of weird because you couldn't. Like you tried to find these first through a sort of main computer access, but they were unavailable. However, you find as you're looking around, there appears to be a small computer station actually built into the captain's chair, and not. I'm sure not being one to not resist the opportunity, you find that if you move over to the captain's chair, you could indeed access a very limited range of information, but one that would give you some of the logs here.
Of course. I will gladly sit in the chair.
Okay. I'm going to say here that you think that you could listen to. Okay, well, it looks like. Let's see. 2, 3. There are 6 logs that are available to you. You probably, with what access you have and with what's running through the system right now, you could get through 2 of the logs.
I'll start with the one at the closest start date to us.
Okay. The most recent log appears, and I am going to spend a. Let's see. I'm going to spend 2 points of threat in order to create a slight complication that will garble the log. So as you attempt to recover the file, you get just a very, very like staticky image of what appears to be a Klingon man. The best you can make out is that he appears to be strapping some sort of weapons to him, and that he is gesturing angrily. Have been betrayed, and crew, the vengeful force. My ship refusing to answer. Even functions among beasts like Hannibal. Found and over. I know I have, and I know not how long I have the ship while I still the last among my wits who purpose, conviction, earn my place in Stavokor. The log cuts out at that. Near as you can make out, that log was apparently dated on the 48th day of Maktak in the year of Kalis 846. As a note, you are currently in year 875.
So about, math is hard, 40 years?
30. I made the
30?
same mistake.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe close to 29. I believe it's still would be the 13th day of Sujin for you, which would put it relative to the Earth calendar. It's mid to late summer versus this date being decidedly in the equivalent of the human months of October. Indeed, the 48th would be October 31st.
Okay.
So you've got one log.
Let's kind of go. Let's just go to the next one back.
Okay. I'll tell you what, just so that you have a rough chronology otherwise. Everything appears to happen in a roughly 31-day set during the month of Maktag, going back to the 15th day and ending on the 48th. So your other options appear to be the 44th day, the 39th day, the 31st day, the 23rd day, and the 15th day.
Let's do the 33rd.
Oh, 31st rather. Sorry.
Yeah, 31st.
All right. This one comes in much more clearer. The Klingon commander sits at his table, staring into a mug of blood wine. Um, Captain's log. Dekovich reporting. 31st day of Maktak, the year of Kalis 846. Today, I killed my first officer of 3 years. Challenge for command is not unprecedented, even on simple freighters like ours. But the nature of this challenge was strange. Galera was quiet these past couple days, preferring isolation to her usual gregarious nature. I was prepared to speak plainly on the matter and ensure that she was not compromised in performing her duties when I found her in the mess hall. She had not bothered to wake the chef, but rather taken a targ from the pit and butchered it live on the table. Guisha. When I sought an explanation, she swung back her arm and struck my face with the back of her hand. There was no answer to this challenge but there was no choice but to answer this challenge as honor demanded. I barely had my knife ready when she lunged from the chair, as if the gravity field were more suggestion than functioning reality. Took everything I had, he says, taking a swig of blood wine, just to keep her at arm's length. But my blade found its home. Even then she fought like a demon out of Grethor, her arms clawing at my body, her jaw drenched in targ blood, biting the air, centicams from my neck. Oh, she was a skilled fighter, but how did I expect her to be so vicious? Quisha. What have I gotten myself and my crew into? And with that, the unit on the captain's chair depowers. Elsewhere on the ship, Tabak, where are you and Dekoth going? Or you said you were just looking for crew at this point, but
wherever the story needs us to be at the moment. We were just sort of wandering the ship, opening all the cupboards, essentially.
I gotcha. Would you, in the spirit of visiting cupboards, would you like to go to the galley then?
Might as well.
Fair enough. You find your way towards the I guess technically you enter in through the mess hall first, which let's move you and Koth in there. Um, there are, as you enter, again, similar low lighting, similar astringent, well, not astringent, like stale quality to the air.
Yeah,
Um,
stringent air would be something else entirely.
yeah. There's a noticeable signs of a very old and dried blood stain of sorts. It doesn't appear to be quite Klingon blood from the look of it, but I imagine I would imagine for our purposes, anything that evolved on Kronos probably has that similar sort of structure, so it's conceivable that it could be Klingon blood. The deep purplish pink quality.
Yeah,
It's very old.
yeah. So, no cups out of place, no plates left just sort of out.
Oh, there are indeed signs of plates and cups that were set had been left behind. If there was anything on them, they've long since decayed away. There are also probably a few cups that are overturned or otherwise just rolling on their sides, some possibly on the floor.
Touch nothing if you can avoid it.
Yes, Captain.
Uh,
Dekoth, would you like to roll an insight and security roll?
I would be glad to. Let me pull this character sheet up real quick. Insight, security, 2 dice. Use constantly watching.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just to refresh my memory, with constantly watching, yeah, when you attempt a task to detect danger or hidden enemies, reduce the difficulty by 1. So there's not any immediate sign of any particular foe in the room, but there do appear to be several signs of panels that are out of place. There's actually there's a bit in the ceiling that is partially dislodged, it seems, by what you don't know, whether it was an incomplete repair job or some sort of damage. There's signs of wall panels that are slightly out of place here, and there's notably something that was mostly fixed near what you would expect to be the door's manual release that is not completely back into place in terms of the door that leads directly to the galley.
Captain, give me a minute. I'm going to go take a look at it closer.
don't get killed.
Okay, so you go to investigate the panel.
Yep.
Okay. Dekoth, as you close with the panel, you take note. Um, it has indeed seemingly been tampered with, or at least accessed. Uh, it seems as though there's a bit of jury rigging that's gone on here. Rather, there was some attempt to plug some bit of equipment in, something that isn't standard to this D5, but it is presently, or it seems to be completely inert. Um, and your best guess might be that it was some sort of power module.
And it looks like it's tied into the door.
Mm-hmm.
Cap, we got this might take some of your engineering skills.
Go take a look.
Yeah, you move on over, and it seems, yeah, somebody has indeed been messing with or somebody had indeed hooked in what appears to be some sort of power module into this door that would have led to the freighter. Probably something with limited charge, wouldn't have had more than maybe 6 hours on it.
Hold on a minute.
The
All right.
suspense.
So, someone hooked a battery up to the door.
Basically,
Can I tell? Were they trying to keep power on the door, or were they
for a moment at least.
trying to keep it shut or
It
open it?
more likely, I mean, it could have been used for either function, but it would have allowed, basically, it would have allowed easy access to the panel to open or close it. You suspect it could have worked both ways as well, so maybe somebody didn't want to bother with a manual release to open the door. Maybe they wanted to be sure they could close it from the other side. Um,
Okay, so I mean, the doors don't take an awful lot of power.
yeah,
Um, door is shut though and sealed, right?
it is presently shut and sealed, yes.
Hit the communicator. Try to get Rlaldaar. See if you can get even a smidgen of power headed this way. So at least we can open doors.
Fair enough, fair enough. Rlaldaar, back in the engine room, you hear the chirp of your communicator, and this time a voice that you recognize comes through.
Hello.
Rlaldaar, we need to get some power going. We have to open doors. It's getting annoying trying to force them.
Just about got the power flowing and the fusion reactor running.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry it up. Found someone tried to power a door here in the galley separately. It is concerning.
Well, Rlaldaar, you think that enough power has been transferred through the power coupling to allow you to shunt it into the fusion drive and reinitialize the fusion process. Essentially, you could have at least partial auxiliary power going.
All right.
So daring and engineering, difficulty of 2.
All right. Hey.
All right. You score 3 successes there, so that will earn you 1 momentum. Which, let's put that into the pool there. Um, the seconds tick by, and with that, there is a dull hum, and there's a dull hum that begins to emerge from like parts of the engine compartment, and maybe what you would describe as a sort of muffled, a series of muffled like bangs and clacks as like different bits of machinery get to work. Like slowly parts parts of the drive that haven't been active for some time, you would guess, steadily return to life, and with that, even a console or two begins to reemerge or re-engage.
Do I notice this where I am?
You will in a moment as Rlaldaar does whatever he's about to do next.
See if we can get some proper power flow with this console.
You are indeed able to divert power back to the you're able to divert power from some of the newly available power back into some of the internal systems. Good. Now, your welcome is overstayed. And with that, Rlaldaar, an alarm begins to go off in the engine room. One
What the hell?
you recognize from damage control drills and probably some instances back during the war. There's a radiation warning.
Oh. I need to turn this off.
You as you move towards whatever attempt to switch, whatever control you try to interact with, they do not respond.
What the hell?
Not on my ship.
We'll see about that.
Oh dear. So Rlaldaar, you begin to fight with control over the ship as this begins to happen. In the back in the main back in the mess hall, the power comes back to the doors. So you may now just engage the panel.
Yep.
Okay.
It doesn't open up. The door doesn't open automatically as I approach it. I still have to push the button.
Yep.
Okay. Click.
With a press of the button, you find that the doorway is immediately blocked by barrels and crates, one of which begins to roll off towards you, and a loud grunt. Let me. I'll give you the moment to react, Taybok. Let's call this. I'll give you fitness and command in order. No. Actually, better yet, Dakoth, insight and security. To see if you can react to push your captain out of the way.
I want to spend a momentum on that. It's necessary.
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
not
it's
going
hard
to disagree.
I mean, it's hard to push somebody out of the way if you only have one arm.
No, that's the cough, not Azik. Azik is still on the bridge.
Ah.
But I wasn't going to argue with the man trying to save me. So.
Yep. Okay, with that, yeah, you are going to push him out of the way, give you a couple momentum to spare. From behind one of the crates, as you clatter to one of the walls on the side, you see the face of a man. What appears to be a male humanoid of some sort, of a deep, dull, tannish orange complexion, one with a very thick lantern jaw, heavily built upper body, and a vest that is very much meant to sort of showcase this. He has signs of a utility belt and other sort of bits of equipment that are kind of festooned to him. And you can maybe just make out that his legs appear to be a bit more spindly than the rest of his body. Trembling, he reaches for a disruptor pistol as he tries to level and keep himself steady, but he is decidedly not. You, what have you done? Who are you?
Who are you? At this point, I have my pistol drawn. So not, not the, up in his face, but just sort of from the hip kind of drawn.
Nope.
Who are you?
Oh, Dekoth will have his disruptor right at him.
Fools! Why did you come? They should have told the others that they did no one tell you not to come.
No one who? There is no one else.
No, no, they got away. I saw that. I made sure of it. I drew them off. Someone should have gotten away.
Do you mean the? Wait, is this guy a
He is a
Kree?
Creel.
Krill? Your crew is dead. Your ship destroyed, and not by me.
His eyes go wide. Oh, no, 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 no. No, no choice then. Destroy the ship. Destroy the ship. I must destroy the ship. He starts running past you. I must destroy it.
No, I trip him.
No, he falls. He falls to the ground, losing his disruptor pistol in the process.
Okay, the cost, get that.
I grab it. I go over and grab it.
More lights.
No,
oh,
I grab him.
oh dear.
I did say grab it, and I wasn't really specific. So yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It's not Klingon. It's an it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I could see that exchange going very much as grab that thing, and progressive as well, actually, wait a minute. No, this is Dekoth, so he's very much of the same Klingon mentality that these are but things.
Right.
They're not Klingon, and that is what matters.
Right. Tavok is a fairly progressive Klingon. He really just doesn't care.
Yep.
Do I need to roll like a fitness and?
I'll say
something?
fitness and security to grapple him. Difficulty is just 1, and since he was tripped, I will rule that there's nothing needed to. The roll will go uncontested by the Creel.
I have brawling. I'm assuming that would work.
That would apply as a focus, yes. Okay, that is 2 successes there, so you gain back 1 momentum. Why, you don't understand! Let me go! Unhand me!
Speak, fool. What is going on? What is your damage?
We should not have come here. This place. It is held by the wraiths, the vengeful spirits of the void.
You are
And their beasts will not settle until we are dead. We are but raw material for them.
mad.
The Creel will continue to struggle. Let's see if he can actually break out of this. I believe he requires a fitness and security roll in order to break out here. Let me just pick this up here. Oh, there we go. No, not as such, not that one. Let's see here. Sorry, just one moment while I get the proper roll here. So that'd be fitness and security. Needs to get a 2 in order to break out of this. That will be just enough with 3 successes. So he's going to just sort of sever the grasp and kind of stumble his way across the room towards.
I don't get to whack at him before he gets out of range.
Technically, Dekoth is between him and you, so.
Oh, you big dumb lummox. Okay.
Yeah. Damned bodyguard, just getting in my way.
Just guarding my body and messing everything up.
Yeah. Stupid dog, you made me look bad.
Was that a Courage the Cowardly Dog reference?
That absolutely was a Courage the Cowardly Dog reference.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Do I get extra XP for that? Sorry.
Oh, if only. There we go. And as various sounds begin to break out, like whir and hum across the ship, the Creel kind of misses the door and winds up just closing the distance with the bit of the wall. You don't know what you've done. And in that moment, I drop 2 points of threat. And a portion of the wall of the hull plating behind him, or of the wall paneling, bursts open. And coming in at probably about 7 feet tall, a figure comes around and moves into grapple here.
What is it?
That is a very good question. As it comes in with a mighty roar and what appears to be a rough humanoid shape. Its hands seem large and pronounced, more claws than anything else. Its mouth bearing fangs that in the dull red light of the mess hall appears to be just absolute or it just appears to be it seems like there are not just many rows of them, but not just that they are sharp, but that they are they have multiple rows essentially. And with that, let's see, that is going to go in for a melee.
On whom?
On the Creel, who is unsuspecting and thus will be unable to contest. With a swift grab, it plunges its great teeth into its neck. And through the lighting, let's see here. Oh yeah, that's going to be enough. It's going for a lethal blow. It bites away the neck.
Oh Lord!
And as it does, as it's the horrible viscous material of this man's innards fall from its jaw, it looks at you with completely blacked out eyes.
Shoot
But
it!
Furrowed from a hairless brow above a very pronounced cranial structure.
Shoot it! Shoot it a lot.
And you begin leveling your disruptors and taking aim in the direction of this yet unknown beast. And we will see where that goes next time on Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword.
To be continued.
Yes.
Comes up on screen.
Yep. So, hope all of you enjoyed this first part of our little horror adventure. Where this is a fun ship that we're on here. But anyway,
be a new definition of fun of which I was previously unaware.
Yep.
This is where the fun begins.
Absolutely.
Just as long as
5
there's no
points of threat for prequel meme references. Nah,
No.
I'm spending that all, and I'm giving you 5 points of momentum.
Because we're gonna need it.
Yep. I'm
That's a lot of modifiers on that melee attack there.
Yep.
That's a lot of modifiers. I don't
Ye-
like that infectious modifier. That's not a nice one.
Yep. But anyway,
fact,
we'll find out more about what that means next time.
Oh.
Till then, we'll see you on the archive.